We're going to talk about the wild, wacky, salacious world that is dating and romance, relationships, sex. Okay? The fun stuff to talk about. But let me tell you what this talk is not. This is not the talk that you might think you're going to get. Because I remember when I was a kid growing up, we had this guy called the purity evangelist who would kind of come through town, and he would go from church to church all through the county giving the purity talk. And he was kind of like that football coach I told you guys about, really intense and really hardcore, and everything was kind of like, you know, all the guys, you're like the, you know, the little demon urchins trying to rape and pillage, and girls, you guys are just little bitty innocent lambs, and it's all about how guys are doing the bad stuff and everything. And so I remember walking away. There were two emotions that I would always kind of walk away with after hearing a talk like that. Two emotions, guilt and shame. Shame and guilt and shame. And they would kind of like attach themselves like gargoyles and go with me everywhere I went, right? That's not this talk. That's not this talk. Guys, our sexuality and our attraction for one another, it's one of God's greatest gifts. When it comes to dating, how can I make God's values my priorities? Our attraction to one another also comes with a timer. Because how many of you guys remember when you're a little bitty and you don't want to have anything to do with the opposite sex? Do you remember this when you're a little bitty kid? I remember being 8 years old in the woods with my boys. We're up in this tree building a fort. It's not a tree house, it's a fort, people. And we're up in this tree and we're just nailing plywood. No architectural plan, just nailing stuff in this poor tree. And this thing was amazing, you guys. We had a trap door, right? Anybody come over and visit, they get a little mouthy, he gone. We had a zip line, didn't work, but we had one. We stocked this thing with water balloons. We were ready for those punks. We played in T-ball down the street, Al-Qaeda, whoever. We're just like, bring it on. ISIS, we will defend this house. We were ready in this tree, you guys. And everything was going great until my neighbor, this same neighbor from across the street, Susie Q, comes traipsing through the forest like she owns the place, disturbing all the wildlife. She's, you know, pigtails, freckles, adorable, but evil. Hey, y'all, I want to play in y'all's tree house. We're like, go away, we hate you. Started throwing water balloons at her. She dodged those. We started throwing nails. But then everything changed. I went from like hating Susie Q to having like one hair stick out of my chest and like, bring on the women. You know, it was like a real big, it was an abrupt change. It happened for me between like 12 and 13. For you students, this happens way, way earlier because of all the steroids in the milk and the chicken. But you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about when hormones descend upon you like locusts. There's a lot going on here that can be intimidating to the novice, all right? So, you know, we're dealing with a flowing mane of dirty blonde goodness attached to her scalp area, all right? Cute little top that she probably got from Anthropological, all right? Rocking them skinny jeans. And she's got these cute little kicks, little futuristic hipster kicks. Now, here's the deal. We see this in the wild, and it's scary. You know, she's like, out of my league. This girl's hot. Too hot to try it. Guys, but the bottom line is if we want to get with the girl, okay? If we want to get with this, we got to pay the price. Hi. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. You know what? Let's just start over. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. 1 second here. Hi.
Hi.
You know what? I have always wanted to be a superhero.
Oh, like Superman, Batman?
Your man. Hi.
Hi.
Fat penguin. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of something to break the ice. Right. Okay. You guys get it? You get it? Okay. Here we go.
restroom's that way.
Oh. Hi.
Hi.
Are you Jamaican?
No. Why?
Because Jamaican me crazy, man. Hi.
Hi.
Is your dad a terrorist?
No. Why?
Because you're the bomb. So, do you believe in love at first sight, or do I need to walk by again? Nope. All right, I'll do that. Hi.
Hi.
Is your name Google?
No. Why?
Because you got everything I've been searching for. Hi.
Hi.
Are you a 90-degree angle?
No. Why?
Because, girl, you looking so right. Hi there.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, feel my shirt. You know what it's made out of?
What?
Boyfriend material. Hi.
Hi.
Are you a veterinarian?
No. Why?
No, because these puppies are sick. Medical attention. Hi.
Hi. Let me stop you right there. I have a boyfriend.
Oh, well, I have a goldfish.
So?
Just thought we were talking about things that don't matter. Hi.
Hi.
Girl, I've been meaning to tell you something all day long.
What?
I wish I was cross-eyed so I could see you twice. Hi.
Hi.
Ooh, can I pop that? No, that has never worked. Do not try that at home, kids. Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Claire. What's yours?
Hey, Claire. I'm Will.
Oh, hi, Will.
God's Will. Hi.
Hi.
What you doing?
Just reading
What you reading?
the Bible.
I love the Bible. Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan. I was reading just this morning in the book of Numbers and realized I don't have yours. Hey guys, listen, this is usually when we give up. You know what I'm saying? All right, we have pursued, maybe stalked. Bottom line, guys, we're 3.5 years deep in her Instagram. Things don't look good. This is when the lesser man would throw in the towel, but I ain't a lesser man. This is not when we give up, guys. This is when we need to bring our A game.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Baby, don't hurt me.
Yes. Magic happens here.
No more.
Here we go. Hey, hey.
What is love? What is right? What is wrong? Give me a sign. What is love?
So listen, thought maybe later you and I could go.
Hey, Frederick. Sure.
I want to give you guys some tips about how to do dating differently. Here's big tip number one. Drum roll, please. You want to date somebody who has godly character. Somebody who has godly character. Because, guys, listen, the character that we date eventually becomes the character that we marry. And at the end of the day, when all the looks have gone the way of the buffalo, and they will, character is all that's left behind. How many of you guys realize that the looks are going to fade? Now, see, if you're like literally over 35, you're tracking with me. But you young bucks, you got this blank, all doe-eyed looking on your face. And I get it. It's because you're in the prime of your lives, right? You can live at Sonic and not gain a pound. Let me tell you, I drive past a Krispy Kreme and it's like, pfft, it just happens. Things change, guys. I told you guys last night about playing football, right? At Bama. We trained year-round. I was in the best shape of my life. Borderline had an 8-pack, like little flesh chiclets. A little line right here. I had abs on my back. It was sick. I remember going up to my girlfriend. I remember my girlfriend and I walking across the quad in Tuscaloosa, and I looked around, turned around, and I said, hey, check this out. I pulled up my shirt. I was like, boom. It's like, rah. I was like, go ahead, hit me. She's like, you're stupid. I don't care, hit me. She hit me in the stomach. It was like, Guys, let me tell you something. You come up to me now and you poke me in the stomach, I'm either gonna giggle or puke. Probably on your face. Because gravity wins, and it's depressing. Right? Everything that's firm, perky, and bouncy one day is gonna be baggy, saggy, and flabby. All you gotta do is look at somebody old. It's gross. It just makes sense that we would use a different measuring stick when it comes to deciding, hey, I wanna ask her out, or hey, I'm gonna say yes to him. A different measuring stick. And the measuring stick starts out with identifying if they have godly character. Which then the question is, okay, well, how do I find that out? How do I identify godly character? Well, you want to become an expert at observation. Watch how they spend their time. Guys, where we spend our time reveals what we love the most. No matter where you fall on the religious spectrum, atheist to Jesus-loving person, whatever, like our calendar, our time reveals where our heart is. So if none of his time, girls, goes to being about this God he claims to love, it might be a red flag for you. Watch where time goes. Watch how they talk. So Jesus Christ himself says in Matthew 12:34, he says, from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. From the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what Jesus is saying is this, is we listen to somebody talk long enough, this will inevitably betray this. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Have you ever had what I call an unguarded moment? I call it an unguarded moment. Like you don't mean to say something, but out of nowhere you kind of throw in your 2 cents. And before it's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that, but it's too late. It's already out there. If all of his language is crude, inappropriate, off color, that's a window into his heart. Guys, listen to who she talks about. If she talks about primarily herself, guess who she's primarily into? It might be a red flag, something to consider. Watch how they act. Specifically, how they make their choices. How they make their choices. Now, this verse I'm going to share with you guys right now, in my opinion, it's the most potent verse in the entire Bible when it comes to relational dynamics. Proverbs 13:20. Listen to what it says. It says, he who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. So this verse is saying basically 2 groups of people. You got wise people and foolish people. Now, the thing that makes a wise person wise has nothing to do with intellect, nothing to do with smarts. There are some people in this world, you guys, that are dumb as bricks, but they're wise according to the Bible, because the only thing that makes a wise person wise is as best as they can, they're trying to make God's values their priorities. They don't get it right all the time. They're not perfect. They mess up all the time. And notice what it says. It says if we come alongside wise people, if we do life with them, if we're BFFs with them, if we eventually date them, get engaged to them, and marry them, their wisdom will rub off on us, and any wisdom we have will rub off on them. There's kind of like this osmosis, symbiotic kind of a deal going on. Like there's a reason why eagles fly around with eagles. You never see a crow flying around with an eagle. There's a reason for that. Now over here, conversely, there are fools. And the thing that makes a fool a fool, again, nothing to do with smarts. There are some ridiculously brilliant people in the world, but they're fools with a capital F, because the fool makes his or her choices based upon one of 2 things, convenience or desire. Convenience or desire. Sometimes those 2 things in tandem. But when it's a convenience issue, it basically looks like this. Is this going to put me out? If this choice is going to put me out, if it's going to require effort, some discipline, some self-control, I'm not up for it. If it's easy and it's right here in front of me, I'll do it. It's a convenience issue. Or it's just desire. It's desire. It is, I see it, I want it, I'm taking it. And as you might imagine, guys, convenience and desire, it is a train wreck of a way to make a choice. Any kind of choice, because it's fueled by one singular individual. Guess who? The self. I'm thinking about me. I'm thinking about what I want. I'm going to get what I want. Whatever happens beyond that, whatever. And the reality is there are a lot of girls, a lot of guys walking around with these cavernous holes in their hearts from getting involved with a fool. But I want you to notice there's a little caveat in the verse. It says, he who walks with the wise grows wise. Watch this. But a companion of fools suffers harm. Notice, the fool may or may not get hurt. That's why there are people in our lives that we see them doing all kinds of boneheaded, maybe wicked things or whatever, and they just continue to kind of climb the ladder. And it seems like the anvil never really falls on them. But it says, a companion of fools suffers harm. So here's what this means for us. Guys, girls, if you choose to date an idiot, it's not a matter of if you're going to get hurt. It's a matter of when. You set your watch to it. Because a companion of fools suffers harm. So how do we make this like super, super practical? If you want to see what kind of future husband or wife your boyfriend or girlfriend will make for you, watch how they treat and engage and interact with their opposite gender parent. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. Girls, watch the way he treats his mom. Is he affectionate to her? Does he respect her? Does he love her? Do they have a healthy relationship? Because the dynamic between him and his mom, you can almost guarantee is the dynamic he'll have with his future wife. Flip that. Watch the way she interacts with her father. That dynamic will track its way right into a marriage. I had this kid. I was a youth pastor for a while, and I had this kid in our youth group. And man, he was just a stud. This kid was a stud. He wanted to make God's values his priorities. He was built, right? Just Adonis-looking kid, talented, the athlete, all the cliche stuff he had. Well, he started dating this Jezebel. Now, she was a smoke show. Just ridiculously beautiful. On paper, it made sense. Like, he's like the Ken, she's the Barbie, right? And it made sense because they were both just gorgeous, beautiful people. Like, oh my gosh, if they breed, they'll make super babies. That's what we thought. Like, you know, it makes sense. There's something that felt right about hotness going with hotness. You guys know what I'm talking about. You ever been at the mall or somewhere out and about, you see somebody hot with somebody ugly, and you're like, that's not right. You know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm saying? Like, let's all run in our own lane. You get me? So, on paper, it made sense, but spiritually, it was a train wreck. And so he heard basically some semblance of what I just shared with you guys. They dated for a couple months, and he watched how she interacted with her dad. And he came to my office. I'm at the church, you know, doing my stuff, whatever. And I look up, and he's there. He's white as a ghost. And I'm like, Ken, what's wrong with you, man? He's like, Trav, can we talk, bro? I was like, yeah, surfer guy, what? What do you want? He's like, you know how you said, like, girl you're dating, whatever, like, watch the way she interacts with her dad, blah, blah, opposite parent, whatever, future husband, wife, whatnot. It's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm scared. I was like, what are you scared about? And here's what he said. He's like, I've been around her parents in 2 months, probably at least half a dozen times. But I never really observed the dynamic between her and her dad. It just kind of, I was like, whatever, you know, I fight with my parents or whatever. But when I really started watching to discern what their dynamic meant about her character and about what kind of wife she would be in the future and how she would treat her future husband, I noticed a couple things. Number one, I noticed that they fought all the time. Number two, they fought about stupid stuff. And number three, they fought dirty. Like, I went over to pick her up recently, and her dad just casually said, okay, remember, Jessica, be home at blah, blah, blah. And it became World War III. Just her dad reminding her to not miss curfew. And at the end of it, it's this big fight, you know, and they're trying to claw each other's eyes out. And she's like, blah, 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 shut up, daddy. And she stormed out. I'm like, yeah, dude, fast forward your life. That's blah, 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 shut up, Ken. And he was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm outie. And they broke up. You want to date a guy who is morally responsible with your heart. He's morally responsible. Here's what this means. It means he's more interested in cherishing and protecting and looking out for your heart, your spiritual and emotional well-being, way more than he is about gratifying himself physically. There's no guilt and shame here for us, fellas. It's all about a responsibility. You and I, fellas, being willing to draw a line, not in the sand, but in the concrete of where things are going to go physically in the relationship. And now, we've hit pay dirt. Because if you're thinking he's about to talk about how far is too far, you right. I remember being in high school. Purity evangelists is just going to town. Fire and brimstone, throwing them lightning bolts. And I remember thinking, man, just tell me how far is too far. I told you guys I grew up in this kind of legalistic, church and household, and I was like, just show me where the line is, because I want to be a good boy. And what I really wanted to know is, where is the line so I can enjoy as much as I can up to the line and really try hard not to cross it, because I don't want to take God off. So I don't want God to be mad at me. But let's just kind of walk this out. If out here in the deep end of the ocean is full-blown intercourse, all right, doing the deed, and way back here, up against the wall, is holding hands, there's a lot to explore and experience between holding hands and intercourse. Me drawing the line for you personally is tricky. I can tell you what the Bible says. I can tell you what Scripture says. Scripture says there's no context. There's no concession. Let me say that. There's no concession for sex outside of the marriage bond. The Bible's very clear on that. But if you're a deviant like myself, you may be thinking, okay, well then define sex. And so now we're back to square one, right? So to define, is sex holding hands? Is sex intercourse? Because there's a world of fun in between. Here's the deal. It's really less about where the line is and how far from the line can I get to still take care of her heart, be morally responsible with her emotions and her spirit. Because that's way more important. But let's go there. Let's get practical. Let's say you draw the line back here at Holding Handsville, which I know sounds so lame. Just go with me. Humor me for a second. If you draw the line back here at Holding Handsville, and maybe you graduate out here to some hardcore frontal huggage, okay? And then you get on out here, and then you finally get to like movie star kissing. I call it movie star kissing because it's not the way you kiss your granny saggy cheek. This is the way they do it in the movies. French toast that thing. Get it. It's that moment when like a billion germs go from mouth to mouth and it's disgusting, but it's so fun. Okay, so you movie star kiss, and it's electric. Oh my gosh, lightning is happening, thunderbolts and fireworks. We're like, oh my gosh, you're a good kisser. You've been practicing on a pillow. Like, it's great. It's amazing. But you need to understand something about where you draw your line, okay? Two things to consider. Number one, wherever we draw the line, we will always approach that line and cross it. It is endemic of the human condition. God puts Adam and Eve in the garden. He's like, guys, listen, you got the garden. It's amazing. There are lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, you're going to love this place. It's incredible. There's all this stuff. Go have fun. Adam, go name the animals. Eve, go do Eve-like things. Hey, P.S., one little thing. There's a tree over there. Got some fruit on it. Don't eat that. Beyond that, have a good time. What do? I'm going to eat the apple. They go straight to the apple. God's like, I'm going to give you 1% rule and 99% freedom. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to break that one rule. Number two, if we don't draw any line, you might just say, you know what, I'm just going to leave it up to my self-discipline. My will is strong. We are hardwired to live in the deep end of the ocean. Casual hookups were never part of God's plan. He did not tell Adam and Eve, hey guys, listen, I know you're both incredibly ripped and attractive and hot and attracted to one another, but you're really ripped because I've not yet invented ice cream and Cheetos. But here's what you need to know. I want you to go behind this bush over here, make out really hardcore. Get each other all lathered up and hot and bothered, but don't do the deed. Don't go all the way. Back it off just a little bit so you can really frustrate each other. No! He's like, no, be fruitful and multiply. Go have mind-melting, amazing sex because I made this gift to be enjoyed. But watch this. But it only works like it's supposed to within the context of marriage. See, sex and our sexuality, it is a context gift. There's some gifts in the Bible that they're context-driven, meaning that they only work the way God originally intended within context. They can happen outside of context, but they don't fulfill. It doesn't work. It takes this amazing gift and strips it down of context so that all is left is just the primal, raw DNA of what it is. And listen, it can be enjoyable for a nanosecond, but it will not fulfill. And now's when I'll tell you guys something that purity evangelists never told me. And listen, don't freak out if you're a parent when I say this, because your butt may start kind of eating the seat. Don't get nervous. I'm going to land the plane. Trust me. Okay, guys, if you choose to have sex before you're married, there's a decent chance, there may be a high probability that it will be awesome and feel amazing and be incredible. Why? Because God made sex, and sex is good. But what it's like outside of context is like stealing a cookie out of the cookie jar when you're not supposed to before dinner. A stolen cookie tastes delicious, but it doesn't fulfill. It rots in the gut. It's like we were designed for meat and potatoes, and the cookie is just a garnish. It's dessert. It's the cherry on top. Sex, in and of itself, does not equate to intimacy. Again, that's why there's nothing intimate about porn. You couldn't be more removed and detached and disjointed and disconnected from whoever you're engaging with, whether it's on a screen or a phone or whatever. There's no connection whatsoever. Sex in and of itself doesn't equal intimacy. Sex is the expression of intimacy. God made the gift to be an expression of the intimacy between a husband and wife. So if you find a husband and wife that are healthy, in a healthy marriage, they actually like each other, love each other, chances are high they're going to have a healthy sex life. If you find a couple that are on the verge of divorce, let me tell you what's not happening. Sex. They don't even want to be near each other. Like he looks at her and she's like, I will stab you in the night. And so God's like, listen, you can take this gift, this is like the golden egg out of the basket of gifts. Like here's salvation and mercy and grace. And here's sex, it's the golden egg. Oh! And God's like, you can enjoy the golden egg whenever you want, but just know it's a context gift. And it only works like it's supposed to in context. And we're like, oh my gosh, thank you for the gift. And we enjoy the gift. Right? We enjoy the golden egg, and it tastes so good. But when we're done with it, it doesn't fulfill. It doesn't satiate. Something's just not right. And that's why if you've dated before, maybe there's the honeymoon and things are great, but then the relationship, of course, because the closer you get to that person, the more you want to express it physically, and maybe you'll start having sex, and then the relationship just becomes all about the sex, and then everything starts to fall apart. That cycle exists 100% because of context. Outside of context, it doesn't work like it's supposed to. But whatever you do, and now I'm going to say that thing that like preacher, teacher people say when, they're like, if you've heard nothing else, hear this. Have you ever heard somebody say that? If you've heard nothing else, hear that. I used to think, that's funny. Everything else you said was garbage, but this is important. Okay, got it. But I know why people say that. They say that because I heard and I forgot. You're going to forget most of what I say, but listen, if you catch anything, oh my goodness, catch this. Whatever you do, guys, don't give up on this. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Thinking you've done too much or you've gone too far or you're already damaged goods. Because I remember, guys, at 14 years old, Purity Evangelist is coming hard, right, with the fire and brimstone. And in the second year he came through our town to do the Purity Talk, I tuned him out. Because in a year's time, I had already developed and built up a sexual rap sheet that I was absolutely ashamed of. And he started, even the way he said some of the things he was saying was just, I checked out. Purity, holiness, no, God. I was like, bro, ain't nothing about my life that feels holy or pure. And you're not talking to me. I've already blown it. Part of my problem, which I didn't realize at the time, was I had a warped view of who God was. My view of God was that he was this tyrannical, kind of dictatorial guy. This old irascible granddad that kind of hung out on this mountain, kind of Zeus-like figure, rocking the beard and the toga, really busy and always ticked off at us, little minions, because we're always screwing up, right? And then if I ever got to the front of the line to get God's attention, God, can you help me with my porn addiction? Then he would be like, hey, moron, into the line. Bigger fish to fry here. Hello, ISIS. Gosh. Gotta stop just running the universe, that's all. Let me tell you, guys, that's not who God is. God is Isaiah 30:18. Listen to this verse. It's Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. Here's what it says. It says, the Lord longs to be gracious to you. He rises to show you compassion. The Lord longs to be gracious. He rises to show you compassion. If you rewind to Isaiah chapter 6, Isaiah, greatest prophet in the Bible, Isaiah has this real-time vision of God in real time. And immediately he's like, God, don't kill me, because of God's glory and the awesomeness. And he sees this play out. And he says, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. And there was these mutant angels with like wings all over them, flying around like little wasps, singing, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. And it says at the sound of the angels' voices, the temple shook. And so it's like a Michael Bay movie on steroids. This place is imploding because of God's glory and his grandeur. But there's one little detail that means a lot for us. He says, I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne. Now look at Isaiah 30:18. The Lord, watch this. The Lord longs to be gracious. He rises to show you compassion. Do you see this? That God gets up out of his chair for us. Does that sound like a God who's ready to come down with the lightning bolt? No, it sounds like this Lord who says, listen, I know it's easy to mess up in this area. I know it's easy to experience guilt and shame. I know it's easy to fall into addiction, but I am the God of redemption. I'm the only person who can pick up the broken pieces of your heart and pull them together and make you whole again. I'm the only person who can take a checkered past and literally, like in a nanosecond, make it white as snow. So that if you're sitting here and you're a girl, and you feel like damaged goods, listen, God is up out of his chair for you. Saying, listen, sweetheart, honey, babe girl, you can wear that white dress with pride on your wedding day, no matter where you've been and what you've done, because I am the God of forgiveness. He can look at every young man, every guy in this room and say, listen, bring me your addiction. Bring me the porn. Bring me the past. Bring me the brokenness. Lay it at my feet. I'm already up out of my chair. I'm going to pick this up and I will make something beautiful with it. But you got to trust me. See, this is an area, our sexuality, and I call it a white knuckle area. You guys do this. Everybody squeeze your hands again and squeeze really hard. You notice that your knuckles turn white. Squeeze them real hard. Blood kind of runs away from your knuckles, your bones there. It's because this is an area that's really, we hold it close to the chest, right? It's kind of personal. Like, nobody walks around like, hey guys, I have a porn addiction. Let's have lunch. Nobody does that. There's a reason why. It's kind of creepy. Like, we don't share. We keep this close to the vest. But God's like, listen, if you want me to do something with this, if you want to trust me with it, you got to release your kung fu grip. You got to lay it at my feet and back slowly away. And listen, I'm already up out of my chair because I love you that much. You just got to trust me. Let me pray for you. Let's pray.